Hey everyone! In this video, I'm going to show you a handful of chords, pun very much intended, that you can play on baritone ukulele with just one finger. We'll start with common chords, and then move on to some unusual chords that even advanced players might enjoy using. Today I'm playing my Lanikai Acacia baritone. We're going to start by looking at some common chords that you can play with one finger. First up is the G major chord. The G major chord is made up of the notes G, B, and D. So we have an open D string, open G string, open B string, and then we'll play the third fret of the E string. And I like to use my ring finger. Generally speaking, I try to use my pointer finger for notes on the first fret, middle finger for notes on the second fret, and ring finger for notes on the third fret. But that's just personal preference. Next up, we have a G major 7 chord, and that sounds like this. So this is very similar to a G major chord, but we've added the note F sharp, and that's what we're playing right here on the E string. So still, open D, open G, open B, and then we've got the note F sharp on the top. And I'm using my middle finger because it's on the second fret. Next up we have a G7, which could also be called a G dominant 7, and that sounds like this. This is also really similar to our G major chord containing a G, B, and D, but now we've added the note F, and that's what we're playing right here on the first fret of the E string. And I'm using my pointer finger for that. Next up we have an E7 chord, which could also be called E dominant 7. So it has the same chord quality as a G7, but it's a different chord. Here's how it sounds. For this chord, we're holding down the first fret of the G string. So open D string, first fret of the G string, open B, and open E. And I use my pointer for this one. The last chord we'll look at is an E minor chord. This chord has the same root as E7, but a different chord quality. So this is an E minor triad. And we're going to play that by putting our middle finger on the second fret of the D string. This is a chord that could be uncomfortable at first because we have to reach our middle finger all the way around. Generally speaking, the pointer finger is going to be strongest and pinky finger is going to be weakest. So when starting out, you might choose to play some chords with your pointer finger while you build up strength in your other fingers. So you could play E minor with your pointer. The reason I play it with my middle finger is because it makes it easier to transition to other chords down the line, like a C chord or an A minor. So maybe you already know all of these common chords. Right now we're going to move on to something I would call color chords, or chords that might be a little unusual or tonally ambiguous. I'm actually just going to name these chords by fret numbers because they could be called different things depending on context. First up, we have 3 0 0 0, or third fret, open, open, open. So I've got my ring finger on the third fret of the D string. To my ear, this sounds a bit like a G13 chord with the 7th on the bottom and the 13 on the top. And I hear it maybe resolving to a C chord. Next up we have 0 2 0 0, or open string, second fret, open, open. So I'm using my middle finger to play the second fret of the G string. The notes here are D, A, B, and E. This chord sounds pretty ambiguous to me. Maybe it's a D6-9, and we use an E minor and A7 to lead up to it. Maybe it's an E7 sus chord, and we follow it up with E7, then resolve to A, like this. Next up is 0, 0, 3, 0, or open, open, 3rd fret, open. So I'm using my ring finger to hold down the 3rd fret of the B string. The notes here are D, G, D, and E. You might hear it as an open G6 or as an E minor 7. I think this would pair really nicely with a G chord or an E minor chord. Maybe in something like this. Another really cool and unusual chord is 0, 0, 2, 0, or open, open, 2nd, open. So I'm using my middle finger to play the 2nd fret of the B string. Now the notes are D, G, C sharp, and E. The C sharp gives it a bright sound to my ear. Listen to how it sounds when followed by a G5 chord. Now let's try putting a D major chord after the G5. Last up, we have 0, 0, 1, 0, or open, open, 1st fret, open. So I'm using my pointer finger to hold down the 1st fret of the B string. The notes here are D, G, C, and E. This chord sounds like a C add 2 to me, and it sounds really nice followed by a G chord, like this. You could also follow it by hammering onto the 2nd fret of the D string with your middle finger, making it a C chord before you resolve to G. And that would sound like this. That's all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you heard some sounds that you like in this video. You can visit my website to purchase chord diagrams for this lesson, or schedule a one-on-one Zoom lesson. Or you can join me on Patreon for lots more content like this. See you next time.